Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at the new super cool Tooty OS airbrush compressor as sold by Spraygunner under the No Name brand. And it is a pretty beefy little compressor. Kicks on at 70, kicks off at 80. And I'm going to compare it to some other airbrush compressors and other compressors, give you a rundown. Let's get into this thing. Let's do a sound comparison between this compressor and a small airbrush compressor, another larger airbrush compressor, and the half horsepower Fortress compressor that a lot of people seem to be buying these days. Okay, that'll give you a pretty good idea. You can't see, however, on film how much vibration they create. Speaking of vibration, in these next clips, you're going to see the camera's going to get warbly. And the reason why is I have my camera stand next to the table I was filming on. So when vibration transfers to that camera stand, it creates, vibration in the camera. So the things make you look like you're drunk or something when you're watching the film. The 186 compressor. The Master Blaster 2 compressor, the Cool Tooty, and of course the Fortress. Okay, this test, what I'm going to do is I am going to spray at 30 until the compressor kicks on. When the compressor kicks on, I want to keep holding it and see how long it would take if the compressor will even shut off. Okay, so this little guy been running for 1 minute and 15 seconds non-stop, and so it's pretty clear that the compressor is not going to put out air in a volume past the capacity of what we're pulling out of it, so it would just pretty much run no telling how long. So we're going to end this right here. Tank size is how we're going. So why is it that the Fortress won't build enough pressure to shut the tank or shut off? Because, and this is what happens when marketing doesn't listen to engineers. In other words, marketing, they wanted to advertise this is a 135 PSI compressor. So it takes a lot for that compressor. That pump does really, really well up to about 120 PSI. Above that, it's really struggling. They honestly should have set their pressure at a lower shut-off rate, to be honest, in my opinion. But none of these air compressors should be running in full continuous duty. Anyway, for our next test, and it's not going to be a full test, we're not even going to use all the compressors. We're going to see how the super cool Tooty does running the Minigun, and I'm going to show you how inadequate an airbrush compressor would be for something like this. Okay, so at 30 PSI, we're going to run the Minigun, and we're going to run it off our little compressor here. We're going to see what happens here. So now it's kicked on, but give it just a few more seconds. Now watch that gauge. Watch what happens with that gauge. You see, it's dropping below 30 PSI. That means the tank cannot keep up even at the 30 PSI, and which means it's not suitable for this kind of, working need. Yeah, and of course the Master Blaster, and it's going to be really hard to see that gauge in there, underneath there. But will the Master Blaster run this, run one of these? It's not going to try to keep up. It's, if you don't have a long period use with it, I've used it for this, and it'll run it for a pretty good bit. So, the Master Blaster works out okay for this. So what's going to happen with the Cool Tooty if we're running that? The mini spray gun off of it, it's going to kick in.
It's going to keep up. I've confirmed it'll run it. It will never reach the point with this spray gun. If you kept your hand on the trigger like this the whole time, it would never reach the point of shutting off. But it's not going to reach that point where the pressure drops below a usable level either. I do have one complaint about this compressor. It's got the 1/4 inch adapter, or 1/4 inch coming out of here instead of the 1/8 inch that fits on an airbrush, which just means you guys are going to have an adapter like this, or in my case I use my splitter because the splitter hooks up right to it. Fortunately, most of your airbrush hoses are now coming with these on them, but not everybody has these, so you may need to pick one of those up if you pick one of these up. And that's something I should probably bring up to, you know, my guys over at Spraygunner and be like, hey, maybe you guys should include one of those in there. Maybe we can talk them into that.
Did I mention that this has cooling fans? One on the top and one direct drive off the motor. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a torture test of sorts. See that pressure right there? We're at 50-ish PSI. So what I'm going to do, set my camera up, and I'm going to set a timer, and I am going to run this for 5 minutes straight, pulling my Wada clips for 5 solid minutes. See how warm this top gets. It's cool, really cool right now, even though it's been running. So we're going to see how hot that gets and see if we can make it overheat and see if it even kicks on and off at 50 PSI. Be a heck of a test. Oh yeah, I got to do the tapey thing. This is so ghetto. But I don't want to hold that button for 5 minutes straight either. It stopped. Keeping up. Reach shut off again. And I'm even able to put my hand on the top. It's getting pretty warm there, but yeah, that's pretty darn impressive. Now that was pretty nuts. I did not expect it to be able to cycle itself off running at 50 PSI like that non-stop. Anyway, what do I use? I have a secondary regulator, goes into a split block out here, and then I've got piping that runs off into another room and runs into a 2 horsepower compressor in another room. And that is what I use in my day-to-day work. But one of the reasons I have all those other compressors is because occasionally I need something portable. I need to move stuff. I take stuff over into my kitchen sometimes. I do stuff out on a table out here, and I don't want the hoses drug across the floor because I have power going to my table. So, you know, I use them, and I sometimes have gone off-site where I'm doing some painting. And this is something that fits in a small footprint that can keep up with what I'm doing. And most airbrush compressors weren't able to keep up with what I'm doing. You know, as I mentioned, I have a video that's very, very popular about not buying airbrush compressors. It also is the one that has given me the most negative feedback. So if you guys don't like what I'm saying, drop that smoke down in the comments below because I'm here for it. So in my opinion, this can absolutely service most people's needs. For modeling, miniatures, body painting, most people are going to be perfectly fine with this compressor. It is probably changed my mind. And so I would say this will do what you need it to do. And that is the difference between that and a normal, like the AS186 generic. That's a generic name for almost all of those made in China small airbrush compressors. Those can work for people who are doing small things like the miniatures and small modeling needs and small lure painters. But a lot of people find they need a lot more. This gives you a lot more. It's as powerful as that 1/2 horsepower Fortress, only it's a smaller, more compact package. And the noise is the same decibels, but it's a little less annoying. And having that fan on there to cool it off, like I said, I was very, very shocked that it shut off when I had that trigger taped down like that. Anyway, guys, I'm Bill Kennedy with the Airspace. I'll drop you some links for the product we looked at today. And hopefully you got something out of this video. Hit the subscribe button, toss me a like, leave me some comments, and let me know what y'all think. Anyway, that's going to be a wrap. Y'all have a good one.